Our next presentation is in recognition for Crusader of Justice. Let's welcome Georgia State Senator, District 44, Gail Davenport, to the stage as she introduces this special honoree.
Good morning. To all of you, especially to these wonderful honorees. I am just honored to present the Crusade for Justice Award, District Attorney Lanice Washington of Bessemer, Alabama. Lanice Washington is a resident of Bessemer, Alabama, and former presiding judge of Bessemer Municipal Court since her new title as District Attorney for the Bessemer cutoff resulting from the 2016 election. In addition to duties as presiding judge for the past years, she served as an appellate prosecutor for the city of Irondale, served as hearing officer for the Jefferson County Personnel Board, and maintained a full-time law practice. Her latest political conquest of winning the November 8th election historically defines her as the first African-American district attorney in Jefferson County and the first African-American woman district attorney for the state of Alabama. She's good. She serves as District Attorney for the Bessemer Cutoff Division of Jefferson County. District Attorney Washington is a 1994 cum laude graduate of Miles Law School. She was admitted to the Alabama State Bar in September 1996. And D.A. Washington is also a graduate of Auburn University at Montgomery, earning a BS degree in criminal justice. Throughout her career, District Attorney Washington has served with a number of legal and civic organizations. Active member of the 2014 past president of the Bessemer Rotary Club, serves as an advisory board member with Brenda Brown Bosom Buddies, BBBB, which is a cancer awareness organization when we're actually observing Breast Cancer Awareness Month this month. Member of the Alabama Lawyers Association, and serves as a member of the Bessemer Domestic Violence Task Force, just to name a few. On September the 15th, 2011, District Attorney Washington was appointed the position of municipal judge by the Bessemer City Council, presiding over Bessemer Municipal Court along with her law practice. She is truly thankful for the numerous recognitions from various organizations, community, civic, and legal organizations for her involvement and activism in the community, and continuously lead by saying, "To whom much is given, much is required." As a state senator and policymaker, I like the main issues that she focuses on. One, implement a program that educates students about how laws can affect them. The second one is develop a citizen and police advisory board to bridge the communication gap between the community and the police. And then the third one, identify community-based reentry programs to help people convicted of crimes transition back into life outside of incarceration. Ladies and gentlemen, our Crusade for Justice Award winner, District Attorney Lanice Oliver Washington from Bessemer, Alabama.
Well, good morning, everyone. And in the words of my Alabama State Senator, Roger Smithman, praise the Lord, saints. It is truly an honor to accept this award. It came out of nowhere. I was reading my emails one day and saw that I was being considered as one of the award recipients, and I was just amazed. I was just totally amazed. So it is indeed an honor, and I'm so proud to be a part of the movement of Rainbow Push, People United Serving Humanity. You know, it started out Rainbow Coalition, and then it was Rainbow Push, and together it's, Citizens Coalition, and now it's Rainbow Push. And so I am so honored to be recognized in this organization. I stand before you as well as a 7-year cancer survivor. Thank you. So, thank you, Dr. Rice. I was listening, and she's a dynamic woman. We've been talking this morning. Thank you for all that you do in the area of cancer research. When I ran in 2016, it was basically a political bloodbath. It was a messy campaign. My opponent chose to try to point out whatever disparity about me that he could, but I chose to take the road that spoke to the things that I had done in the community. I didn't feel that I need to belittle anyone to be able to raise myself up, and I did a lot of praying, and I didn't do it alone. I have with me, and I'm proud to say, my husband, Jude Washington, was with me the entire time. He fought with me, and we fought each other most often, but we love one another. I'm proud to have with me my sister-in-law, Rebecca Marshall, who's with me, and also the first African-American chief assistant that I appointed for the district attorney, and that's Ms. Valerie Hicks Poe. Like I said, my election was a political bloodbath, and because I'm here, it's such an honor to know that I will go in the history books so that our children will be able to read about me, little old me. You know, I wasn't born with a silver spoon. My mother had a 6th grade education. My father had an 8th grade education. But those little nuggets of wisdom that my mother instilled in me made me the woman that I am today. And she instilled with me, even though she couldn't tell me how to do a math problem, she couldn't tell me how to pronunciate a word, she would encourage me and say, "Niecy, do your homework. I want you to have a better life than I have." And I looked at my mother, and I gained strength from my mother. And I am honored to be with these women on this dais because everyone, as leaders, our young people are looking at us. And we set the tone as to what we want them to be and how we want them to act. As parents, our children don't listen so much to what we say, but they watch what we do. So even if you are not placed at this day as if you are a parent, you are a leader. And your children, everyone who have children, your children are watching, and they're gonna emulate the good things or the bad things. And another thing, we have to also instill in our children that to whom much is given, much is required, and I believe so strongly in that, and I remain active in my community to the point where my husband and my staff say, okay, the election is over, you need to slow down. But I stand on so many shoulders, and I appreciate that. And, you know, as we would say, I broke the proverbial glass ceiling, but I didn't break it for it to be repaired. I broke it so that others can follow after me. So I pledge, thank you, I pledge to set an example for our young people, to set an example to our community, that we have to demand more. We have to demand the best. Nothing is given to us. I can't think of one thing that I have accomplished in my life that was easy to attain and that was just given to me. If it was, I would have been afraid of it. And we have to teach our children, especially our young men, that you have to push anything that you want that's positive in life. You have to work hard for it. When I was diagnosed in 2010 with cancer, with breast cancer, and it was during that time that I was running for district judge. And it was August of 2010. come back from a speaking engagement. I was watching an infomercial, and it was telling women how to do a self-check, and I just kind of did a self-check, said, a lump, I'll talk to my doctor. Didn't think anything of it. Time went by, about 2 weeks, I finally called her, went in for an ultrasound, and during that transition, my husband was going to Iraq on a Department of Defense contract because I had to resign my position as assistant district attorney in order to run for district judge. So again, that took some praying, because I knew that in order for me to leave a career job and run for a district that there is no guarantee that I would win, I got to be led by something other than my mind. But you know, I was diagnosed that August. I had a bilateral mastectomy, September 10th. I went through chemo, went through radiation. I never lost my drive to keep going because I had a 14-year-old son that was watching me. And I told him we were going to go and take this journey together. So when I lost my hair, my eyebrows, my eyelashes, and all of that, my son, we stood in the mirror, we talked, and I want him to continue to have his life as a child. And God got me through. Now, I don't know what y'all believe in, but I know who I stand with. I know who I believe in. And I serve an awesome God, and it's because of him that I'm standing here today. Well, needless to say, I didn't win that election. I was like, okay, God, I prayed. You gave me peace about this, about leaving my career as an assistant DA. And now I'm battling with the cancer, the chemo, and my husband in Iraq. I've lost this election. Okay, God, I know we're not supposed to ask questions, but, you know, what's going on? So I guess I had worked so hard that Bessemer City Council, they saw my works, and they appointed me as municipal court judge, as presiding judge. Well, that was an opportunity, a platform for me to engage even more in the community and introduce programs. And that's my platform that I ran on. And it was because God was preparing me for such a time as this. I didn't understand why I was not district judge, but I was municipal court judge. That wasn't what I was aiming for, but that was what my God had in plan for me. And you know, I'm just crazy enough to trust everything he says. I'm just that crazy. But you know, I'm honored. I am so extremely honored to be here with this award today. And Mr. Vismail, where are you? Mr. Vismail, I talked with you on the phone. Thank you so much. And Miss Trina Heathington, I don't know whether she's in here. That young lady, she worked hard because she talked to my assistant, and I came here. I didn't know what to expect. I didn't know I was going to have an opportunity to speak. But I thank God for the opportunity, and I thank God for allowing you to be here and to have a listening ear for each one of our stories, because we all have a story. So thank you. May God continuously bless you.
Blood for
and
me.
I'm so honored to be
I was
here.
guilty, but now I'm free. All because of you. 'Cause you've been so good.
Deshaun Jenkins will present and honor this next deserving recipient.
Good morning, everyone. I thought I was coming to breakfast, but I realized I'm coming to a prayer service. I don't know how many times I said at the table, amen, amen, and won't he do it? So I was saying my own. And another billboard I used to see all the time when I was living in Burkina Faso in West Africa, and it would say, Visez plus loin, which means aim higher. And I think this honoree embodies all of that. I am fortunate to present the Corporate Award for Inclusion, or Corporate Advocate for Inclusion Award to Managing Director of Global Diversity and Inclusion for Delta Airlines, Kierlyn Johnson. Ms. Johnson is charged with leading Delta Airlines' comprehensive diversity and inclusion strategy with supporting programs, initiatives, and action plans that will have significant impact on Delta employees, its customers, and the communities it serves. She's a firm believer that successful organizations must not only reflect diversity, but also be models for inclusiveness. And this requires transforming the mindset of companies from the inside out, accepting that diversity and inclusion are not destinations, but instead are journeys. Prior to assuming this role in September 2016, Ms. Johnson served as Delta's Managing Director of Corporate Communications, where she set the course for the company's global communications plans and strategies, overseeing employee communications, division communications, international communications, the corporate internet and leadership communications as well. Reporting to Delta's Chief Communications Officer, she also focused on corporate messaging, creative storytelling, issues management, and employee media relations. She began her career at Delta as an airport customer service agent, and she held positions of increasing responsibility over her more than 20-year career. Kira is known as an advocate for Delta's goal of open, honest, and direct communication, and the company's commitment to embracing diverse people, thinking, and styles. Please join me in congratulating Kira Lynn Johnson. Do we need to move over?
Well, good morning. What an honor to stand before you, and certainly what an honor to be in the company of such amazing women. And I will say, when I look at my 20-year journey at Delta Airlines, I didn't know that I was being prepared every day and every step along the way for the role that I have today. As she said, I started the company 20 years ago, and I started as a gate agent on a concourse, boarding oversold flights, many destinations that my family had never had an opportunity to even travel to. I moved to B concourse, where I met my husband at the gate B20. And if you know anything about Delta, moving from A concourse to B concourse was even considered a promotion because they were better aircraft. I worked every day while I achieved my degree, and I didn't have an opportunity to have parents who had saved for college, nor am I saving for my children's college. I've told them they will work their way through college, or they will earn scholarships. And as I worked every day to college, I never dreamed that I would make it to the other side of the street, is what we called it at the airport. And so when I achieved my degree, and at the time it was in speech communications, I began to write every person at Delta who even had communications in their title, and I didn't get a lot of letters back. And at that time, I didn't know what I was being prepared for. I finally got a temporary assignment where I would go over, even with a college degree, and assist with a conference. And I had to assist in some roles that didn't seem aligned with what my background supported, but in any event, I had been taught, whatever you're given, do it well. So if I was the person to put the programs on the table, if I was the person to make sure the napkins were straight, I did it. And even then, I didn't know what I was being prepared for. Finally, I was moved into a role that was reflective of more of my background because I was brought to the table to help with a complex employee issue. And I learned through that experience that when you're given a seat at the table, act like you belong there. In many ways, I was underqualified for the assignment that had been given to me, but I took it on with excitement, with joy, and really that's when it led to positions of increasing responsibility. I worked with an amazing team of communicators at Delta for more than 15 of my 20 years and continued to move up. And even then, I never ascended to the top seat. If you heard her in my bio, I reported to the Chief Communications Officer. And I'll say it in a room, even with some Delta communicators here, I reported to the Chief Communications Officer, but there really was no question who the floor reported to. But I was not the Chief Communications Officer. But even then, I didn't know what I was being prepared for. A year ago, the CEO of Delta asked me if I would consider moving over to lead our global diversity and inclusion efforts at Delta. I'd love to tell you that I said absolutely. I think when he asked me, there was a pause. And I think the pause wasn't because I'm not passionate about it. When I reflected on what I had been being prepared for, I realized that I was being prepared my whole time, but my pause really wasn't just to him. The pause was because I had to really seek. And I wasn't just seeking guidance and I wasn't seeking counsel, but I'd been taught at a very young age, you seek. And actually, my parents called it tarrying. So I had to really seek to make sure that this wasn't going to be just a job, but that it was going to be an assignment. And so once I came to the resolve that it wasn't a job I was being asked to do, because I reported to the chief communications officer, which would be the next logical step in my career. When I received confirmation, not from the company, but when I received divine confirmation that it was truly an appointment and it was an assignment and that this is where the company needed me, it was really an easier yes. And I say it was an easier yes because it wasn't an easy yes. It was an easier yes. I didn't even know at the time that I'd be standing before many of you in the room who I need to know or who I need to get to know. Because in this role, I wanted to make sure that our efforts weren't just focused on our external relations and our external communications. We had an awesome opportunity to build on a really strong foundation that was already in place. But I had to say yes to a job that they would give me the flexibility to do differently. And I realized that much of what we did, and as she read in the bio, was a requiring that we transform Delta truly from the inside out. So for the last year, if you don't know me or I haven't had a chance to meet you, or maybe this is the first time we're even meeting, it's because my focus has been on transforming the company from the inside out so that we have sustainable results. We've introduced a strategy, and it's really about seeking diversity, promoting inclusion, and driving accountability. In seeking diversity, we're doing it differently because we realize, and I think I heard it said earlier today, that this is not a fishing exercise for us at Delta. This is a farming exercise. We have to grow the talent that we need for the future. As I've worked every step of the way, you guys, when you fly, we bring a diverse set of customers together, and I want our company to reflect that diversity, but not just on the front lines, at every level of the company. I want that diversity reflected when you open your cockpit door. I want it reflected in the areas that are extremely underrepresented, and it's not a hiring exercise, it really is a farming exercise. So if we're not talking to our children in middle school, and if they don't see it so they know they can be it, then we'll never make a difference. So I don't expect that all of the change happens in the 12 months I've been enrolled, but we're putting sustainable plans in place so that the change can happen over time. But I was really glad that the award didn't reference diversity and it really talked about inclusion, because I think our greatest opportunity at Delta is really in the space of inclusion. So we're transforming our inclusion efforts and really making sure that as we seek the diversity that is ever so important, that we really have a company that is ready to receive it. Because honestly, there's nothing worse than assembling diversity and it's not welcomed. So my focus in this role is really not just on bringing diversity to Delta, but really creating a culture of inclusion. So you'll see a lot of focus there. And then we have a phrase at Delta, what gets measured gets done. And so we want to make sure that in driving accountability, that we really hold ourselves accountable to realistic goals and aspirations. And that's a new piece that we've added to the strategy to really strengthen it and give it a lot more meat and give our leaders a lot more to be measured upon. So in the year transformation, when I got the call, I honestly said to them, it may be a bit too soon. I'm so new in the role. It's only been a year. But when I look at what we've done in that year, we're building a foundation, and I think it's a foundation that I can stand behind. I told people many times I wouldn't have stayed with the company 20 years if I didn't think their intentions were always to be a diverse and inclusive company. But intentions aren't good enough without efforts or actions. So when I accepted the assignment, I said, as long as I'm giving room to influence action, it's an assignment that I can say yes to. So I don't take my seat at the table lightly. I consider it an honor, and I consider it a privilege. While it's a relatively new seat, I'm fortunate that I have opportunities to sit down with our CEO, and he listens. I have a seat with our corporate leadership team, and they listen. I have an opportunity to give them perspective that I was being prepared every step of my career, and people respect that, even on the front lines, because I can say I've been there. So I'm honored to be here. I'm honored to be here with leaders at Delta who play a significant role in the inclusion space. One of our lead communicators, Ashley, a member of the diversity and inclusion team, Carlene, and also the leader of our supplier diversity team, Carmitria, who all play an important role in advancing the work we do at Delta. And so finally, I'll just leave you. If you come into my office, I have lots of giraffes, and I often get asked about giraffes. I didn't really get asked when I was in corporate communications, but in the diversity space, everyone thinks, oh, she's the diversity person, giraffes, right? You know, that bias kicks in. I've had giraffes all of my life, and I've had giraffes in my home, and the giraffe simply reminds me because of who the giraffe is in the animal kingdom. If you think about the giraffe, it stands tall, but it also is very aware of all of its surrounding. But even though the giraffe stands tall, the giraffe doesn't stay tall. The giraffe comes down amongst the other animals, and it fellowships with them, it communicates with them, it even feeds other animals. And the giraffe never lets its head get so high that it can't see its fellow man. And so I leave today thinking about a poem my mom wrote when I was 7 years old. And while I lost her a few years ago, I don't lose her in spirit. And I never knew that I would say this poem today. In fact, I didn't know I'd have an opportunity before you today. But she said to me, and she was big on affirmations, so she'd make us say things. And the poem she wrote just said, at 7, said, as a young black girl, I long to be a great black woman in society. I'm sure as I grow day by day, there'll be many obstacles in my way. But I'll be kind to those I meet on my way up, and I'll bow with modesty should I receive a gold cup. Or today I'd say a glass figure. I'll never, ever, ever let my head get so high that I can't see my fellow man as he passes by. I'll love and be loved and simply follow the golden rule. I'll never, ever, ever lose my cool. And when I become ever so great, I hope to be one the world appreciates. So today I say, Mom, I haven't become ever so great, but I'm on the way to greatness because we all are, because when we follow an assignment, not a job, we're placed in an opportunity for greatness. I may not be great, but I've been trusted with very great work at Delta, and I'm humbled and honored that I'm trusted with it, and I'm humbled and honored that the Rainbow Push Coalition would honor not just me, but would honor Delta Airlines today. Thank you.
Congratulations again to Kira Johnson. Please welcome Executive Director of the National Council of Negro Women, Janice Mathis, to the stage. She makes her way. She's going to introduce our final award, Standard Barrier for Public Stewardship Award recipient and also keynote speaker, Janice Mathis.